So here we can see underneath the vehicle and the modification that Shelby American did to the front end. The front cover is completely different, and they added this air dam in the front, and it's rather sturdy. I'm rather impressed by this piece. They have nice aluminum brackets that are fastened top and bottom, and this outer piece here is sort of it's got this pebbly finish on it, but it's not rubberized. It's definitely this looks like I'm not sure what type of plastic it is, but rather durable, and you have to mind yourself. Most curbs you could clear, but some you won't, so you just have to be kind of careful. Here we can see the front suspension again. The lower control arms are OEM F150. Aluminum spindle is OEM. The rack and pinion is OEM. The tie rod ends, and again, just the upper, the coilover and that upper control arm are modified. And up here you can see the engine, and there is a oil cooler that runs off coolant. And over here you can see the pump for the supercharged air to water to air intercooler, and that runs between the intake ports and the intake port and the supercharge itself as compressed air gets very hot. Those are transmission lines for the cooler, and that's all packed up here. So you have your radiator condenser and transmission cooler and fans up there. Back here we can see the OEM sway bar, the front differential, which is an aluminum housing. I believe those are made by Dana. I may be wrong. I thought I had read somewhere that it's made by Dana. Up here you can see the starter solenoid, and you can just make out the exhaust. Well, maybe we'll get a flashlight for that. But the difference between this, in terms of 5-liter Coyotes, and the Mustang, is that instead of a tubular, these are cast iron. And again, that's more or less for Ford's reliability concerns with trucks and so on. So here we can see the cattle converter on the passenger side and the driver's side, and the crossover into a conversion tube here. This is 2.5, that's 2.5, and then the Borla exhaust is 3-inch, and that runs all the way back here. I believe this is a resonator, and then we have the muffler, and essentially then makes a 180-degree turn into twin 2.25 outlets right out the side, which I like. I think the simpler the exhaust, the better, in my opinion. I've always kind of liked the side exhaust, aka second generation Lightning. First generation too? I don't remember. Second generation for sure. The fuel tank, that's 23 gallons. This is not an FX4, it's just an XLT 4x4, so there's no shielding. There would otherwise have been, there is a skid plate just here protecting the oil pan, but then there's no skid plate protecting the transmission, transfer case, or fuel tank. This transfer case is electronically controlled. It's manufactured by Borg & Warner. This is, I believe, a charcoal canister. I'm pretty sure. I don't read much about charcoal canisters, but I believe they still use those, and it's all fuel related, so probably charcoal. Here in the back, again, we can kind of see the sway bar that was added, traction bars that were added, and then raising the axle, which essentially lowers the overall vehicle. And this is a 10.75 inch differential with an electronic locking diff and 375 gears. And yeah, again, the bed is all aluminum, stamped aluminum, bonded, riveted. And you can see how it's the mounts are for the bed. There's 2, 4, I believe there's 10, because there's mounts on the back as well. So there's 10 total mounts for the bed, and I believe there's 6 for the body, or for the cab. Yeah, so there's 1, 2, yeah, 3, so there's 6 total. And you can kind of see how this is fabricated, kind of how they, everything is, it's all bent aluminum, formed aluminum, riveted, bonded. Some things I don't like about how Ford manufactures vehicles, and it's something that just never seems to improve, is how they finish their rear axle. So this one I've cleaned up, and I've brushed on a corrosion protection, and there's different products out there, and I brushed it on, and it just a very minimal amount of paint, especially here where you have this mounting, cast iron mounting bracket that is for your you know, it doesn't mount the axle. The axle is a C-clip. The axle is held in place within within the differential area, but this holds the brake caliper, and that was just, you know, essentially raw, rusty cast iron. I get that paint isn't going to make pieces of cast iron last longer based on their calculation of whatever lifespan of a vehicle is, but you know, appearances still matter. So I didn't want to paint it because it would just be too fussy, too much potential taking things apart. So I've used a topical corrosion product that I've had good success with in the past, and I think this is fine now. So just you kind of, just one of those things you just kind of keep your eyes on and monitor as the vehicle goes. Fortunately, this won't see salt, which would, yeah, eviscerate that axle. It would be completely orange. You know, if I drove it this winter, it would be completely orange. And then you got to worry about all those brackets, you know, because the thing is with trucks is everything is exposed. Everything gets splashed from the tires. I do plan on putting splash guards behind this piece that run this way to protect this inner bumper area, because that was just chock full, just driving it, you know, for the little that I've had at 5,000 miles. This was chock full of debris, and which just holds moisture and then causes corrosion. This bumper that is covered, let's see, this is covered, that's chrome. You know that's gonna rust. And these trailer hitches, these will rust. These rust, this rusts all back here. So, you know, I think pickup trucks are probably, you know, traditional trucks like this are the worst for corrosion. You know, the aluminum body, I guess that, you know, mitigates, you know, that, but you still have just tremendous exposed frame when a vehicle is configured like this. I mean, it just, everything is exposed. Everything within here is exposed to whatever you drive over and what your tires pick up and splash all along here. This took me hours to clean. I mean, it was just, you know, I wanted to look brand new again because I'm not driving in the wintertime, and I had it on a lift and decided to take the time to clean it. But, you know, it's just, it drives me nuts. I'm OCD, and you know, cars are so much better in terms of modern cars as far as corrosion. None of this is exposed. You know, you know, obviously I have cars I drive in winter, and they're just, you you know, you have so much less exposed to all that splash. I'm also adding splash guards up front here to basically come down and over this, because the splash that happens all the way through this area, although the body is, you know, resistant against corrosion, you know, I know that aluminum can corrode. I guess, I don't know, steel definitely corrodes in terms of how it reacts to salt. And these full boxed frames are kind of notorious for I mean, if you drive a truck and you never take the time to actually clean what may deposit inside of the frame, it will simply rot out. That's just the nature of the beast. The old C-type frames were much better because they didn't hold as much. They could hold things, and they do rust, but they didn't like rot out per se like these, albeit much more rigid, you know, fully boxed frames. It takes more diligence. I mean, there's plenty of holes, but these come clogged with debris. You're SOL. That's just the way it is. And so anybody who drives a vehicle in like this in wintertime, you really need to power wash that really thoroughly, and then spray a anti-corrosion product within that cavity. I'm not going to, because this will never see salt, you know, under my possession. So it should be more than adequate if it doesn't see that. But you still have to power wash if you get debris in there, because it'll clog up these holes and then sits in there and rots. These are the wheels for the Shelby. The wheels themselves are considered a flow forged. They're Shelby branded, and they have the Shelby imprint on there. They're made in China. They're 22 by 10, and the tires are a Michelin Defender LTX, and they're a 305/40 series by 22. And I would be lying to you if I told you that these rode well. They really don't. It's just, you know, a 22-inch wheel on a vehicle such as this, you feel everything. So I run nominal pressure. I run 32 PSI just to keep the noise, well, not so much the noise, just the busyness of the ride. Very busy. Overall, I'm happy with the purchase, primarily because it's a capable tow vehicle. I think it looks good. It reflects my sort of idealism in terms of sort of a hot rod truck, if you will. You know, there's just something uniquely American about that, and very traditional, and just really like that. Truck is comfortable to drive. It's my daily driver when the weather is nice between May and May through October. And I think, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't really trade this for anything. Incidentally, I did have a Rivian RT1 pickup truck and a Lightning on order. And I was intrigued by both of those vehicles. And as far as capability, I really like the Rivian a lot. And if that was a gas-powered truck, I would seriously have considered it. But when I found out what the range was on those vehicles, when you consider towing, it's just not going to work. It just wouldn't work for me. I was in an area this summer where there was not only no cell service or GPS, let alone a charging station. And when you're talking about towing that trailer with a car and it's 6,000 pounds and your range is about 100 miles, I mean, really, this is a 23-gallon tank, and I average 12 miles a gallon. So you do the math. I mean, it's you can stop virtually anywhere when you're traveling for fuel, and I don't care. you know, time is money. Not that I'm out there towing cars making money, but it makes a difference beyond the novelty of charging your brand new EV truck and, oh, this is so great. Yeah, where the rubber meets the road and you're going across the country, yeah, I would think that gets old. The fuel economy on this truck overall is pretty decent, I would say, considering the amount of power that it has if you really want to let her go. At 70 miles an hour, I get 21.5 is what I got last time I checked. And when I travel at 75 miles an hour, it goes down to 18.8. And I mentioned 12 miles a gallon when I tow, 6,000 pound trailer, and average 16. And that's a mix of, you know, some stop and go, you know, city, that type of thing. So it's kind of funny. My Lightning was a pretty fast truck. This thing is faster than my Lightning. Although that Lightning had just a lot of torque, it was, you know, it had that smaller Eaton supercharger, but it was ported, and I had cams in it, stage 2 ported heads. It was pretty respectable. It made 500 at the wheels. This was, they say these make 620 at the wheels. I don't doubt it. This thing definitely rips. But that truck, I averaged 12 miles at a gallon. That's all I could get out of that thing. These 5-liter Coyote motors are pretty impressive, and I don't know in terms of what the overall strength is of these. I've heard they have good rods. We know the cranks are good on these. You know, it's just a matter of the tune and monitoring that your fuel system. With that, I appreciate taking the time to go through this review with me. Have a great day.